Welcome to GTIA Presents, the podcast where member insight turns resources into real business results.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of GTIA Presents. I'm your host, Vicky Bruns, and I am joined today by two amazing gentlemen in the MSP, ITSP channel, Corey Kirkendoll and Mike Psenka. How you guys doing?
Hey, Vicky, how are
Doing
you?
well.
Awesome.
Good to see you, Corey.
Hey, same as well, man. How you been?
Good. Doing well, thanks.
Yeah, so for those of you who are listening in, you're going to get to hear kind of some of the inside details about how Mike and Corey work together. There's a lot of ways that they work together in the channel, including through GTIA. So Corey is the CEO of 5K Technical Services, which is an awesome ITSP based down in Texas. And then we've got Mike, who is the CEO of Moovila, project management software in the space, so representing the vendor side of the channel. And you're based out of Charleston, is that right?
Yeah, Charleston,
Mike?
South Carolina. That's right.
Yes, I got it right. All right, awesome. Bonus points. Okay, so tell us a little bit, Corey. Let's start with you, my friend. Let's hear a little bit about your journey in the channel. How did you end up where you are now? Give us a scoop.
Yeah,
well five words or less. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, started out my career back in 1990s at IBM, went through all the enterprise companies. And then about 20 years ago, I decided that, hey, I want to go and bring some of this enterprise level services into the SMB world, right? And really provide services that I believe they needed. And we just celebrated our 20 years in April. And so it's been a wild journey for sure.
That's so cool. Congratulations on 20 years.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Mike, tell us a little bit about your journey through the channel.
Yeah. So I guess sort of interesting in the Mr. Peabody Wayback Machine in the 90s, my first software company, we provided financial management software to higher ed healthcare, academic medical centers, and actually had at that time an MSP. This is like in the mid 90s, maybe before like PSAs. And so, that was our initial foray, and that was my initial foray kind of into the channel. Roll the clock forward decades now, and we got involved in the channel, maybe 4 years ago now, when we were approached by MSPs. Our sort of AI-driven project and resource management platform does some sort of neat tricks that kind of help businesses that look like MSPs. And an MSP came to us and said, oh my God, this will solve the problem we have in our space, but we need you to build the interfaces. So we did that. It was sort of one of those risks, like if you build it, they will come. And fortunately, we built it and they showed up. So that's been really exciting for us. We love the channel. We love the market, the people, love the community too.
Yeah, it is. It is such a great community. And I know you both show up in really great ways at places like GTIA and events like ChannelCon, which we're going to be talking about here shortly. So the concept of this show is to talk about some of the really awesome and amazing resources that GTIA provides to its members, and then talk about the tangible results that our vendors and our ITSPs have had in the community. So every episode, we get a vendor representative on and somebody from the ITSP side. So that way we can kind of balance it out and get stories from both sides of the house. Before we dig into the meat here of our conversation today, which is going to be super fun, I wanted to get a sense of, what are you guys like listening to? What are some of the things that you're, besides GTIA Presents, what are you got on for a podcast these days? Mike?
What about you? A podcast. I sort of geek out. The sort of the channels that I watch are like PBS Space Time and Kurzgesagt. Like I'll kind of nerd out on science, astrophysics, science, math stuff. So maybe not super interesting to the majority of people, but I'm definitely not, I don't do a lot of the mainstream ones, but.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's very interesting. I mean, yeah. So tell us a little bit about, Corey. What are you listening to these days?
Yeah, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing today, I would really love to be a chef. I love to cook. I love to see and do different things. So anything that's talking about cooking, whipping something up, especially grilling, all of the above. I'm listening to it because I love the tricks. I love understanding. At my house, I'm a gadget guy. So when I see something that's really cool, man, I end up with a gadget and like, okay, I only done one thing. I can do this with that knife, or I could do this with something else. So I love listening to those because I look at it and relate what we do in cooking of taking a whole bunch of different things together and coming up with a solution, right? Which is what we do every day. And so it's that dude, and that's my out, right? So if I'm in the kitchen, got my earphones on, and I'm jamming out and just chilling,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
doubt.
Well, I like how you ended that too with like putting things into perspective. I feel like for this episode, since we're talking about ChannelCon, let's share some personal stories here about how a ChannelCon experience has really stayed with you. And if you guys want, I can tell you a little bit about mine. I worked for a
Please.
large vendor that was, I don't know how long that they've been a GTI member for, like way before probably that I started working there. I started at this vendor in 2015, and I went to my first GTIA ChannelCon event in 2017. It was Austin, Texas. And I remember showing up, and I was always kind of in my vendor bubble before that, going to our vendor events, where we had our own ITSP community there. And it was just interesting to me to see everybody on the same type of playing field and seeing young people on stage. I wasn't used to really seeing that either. Thought that was really neat, and the different awards that they were giving out. It was just really fascinating. It was a different concept for me completely. And I was still really new to the channel. At that point, I'd only been in the industry for 2 years. And so when I came to ChannelCon, I felt like, oh, okay, I'm kind of understanding now what the channel is more, now that I'm kind of getting outside and getting to meet all these different types of personalities. And that was like kind of when I got my sense. I started in the channel a little late. I was in my 30s already, and I was like, this is kind of the place I've been searching for, right? Like, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but Corey, what about you? What's a special personal story that you have about ChannelCon?
Yeah, I mean, some of my best friends and all sides have all come from the GTIA side and from ChannelCon and the community councils forum, right? It's just that place. For me, I started. I always look at it, I'm a big time family man. So I say you only get your kids for 18 summers before they go away. And so my daughter has adopted ChannelCon as her time to spend with dad. And so now she's already set up to say, hey, I'm home, dad. I can't wait for San Diego. She has adopted that, and that's kind of what she
Oh,
gets, right? Which is pretty cool. So I'm glad she still wants to hang out with us. And so it's pretty cool that they gave her experience, talk through it. It's been amazing just to see her go through it, and they continue to follow her and watch her and ask about her and just kind of say her come out of things. So it's been really cool for me.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is really
Yeah, for
neat.
sure.
Mike, what about you?
I in Atlanta a couple of years ago, there was just a really sort of special experience, kind of going to a dinner with a group of people, and I was just sort of struck by, and as I went back and kind of reflected on that, that was just sort of a microcosm of every experience I have at this conference, which is it's all a lot of conferences. Make no mistake, at ChannelCon, the sessions are great. The education is really good. There are a lot of conferences that have good sessions, that have good speakers,
Mm-hmm.
and bring people in to do that. But what stands out for me is the in between time, the time between sessions, the time at lunch, the time when you're walking. That people seem to want to communicate, want to engage. Like, you go to so many other of these hustle and bustle conferences, and everybody's rushing somewhere or going somewhere. They have 2 minutes to talk, and at this conference, it seems like people show up to go, hey, I kind of want to talk. I kind of want to get to know people and hang out and understand. And like I said, I think, I don't want to, you guys tell me if you feel differently, but like I'm going to say their guard is like a little bit more open and just like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm here to have a conversation. I'm here to meet
Hmm.
people. I don't have my guard up. I don't care if you're a vendor or an ITSP it doesn't matter to me. Everybody just sort of shows up wanting to talk. And then you really kind of learn a lot more because, like I said, people are just sort of willing to be open and transparent. Like, that's a very different feel than kind of any of the other industry events that we go to. Other ones are fine, right? They sort of serve their purpose, but you don't, you don't have that sigh of like, I love seeing these people. This is great. I'm looking, like you said, looking forward to it. Your daughter wants to go, Corey, because like it has a familial sense to it. And
Yeah.
I
Yep.
don't know, you guys can, maybe there are other ones that have that. I don't know that there's any other conference that has that kind of familial sense to it. And that's one of the things that I love about it.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's a good term for it, familial sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. We're gonna have to coin that.
I like that. It's
So,
very good.
so Corey, let's kind of switch it up a little bit. We've talked about the vibe. We've talked about how, it feels different when you're there. But what are some experiences or examples of conversations or maybe interactions, or maybe it's a session that you've been to that's really given you something very, very tactical to go back and work
Mhm.
in your business on?
Yeah, I mean, the education they give to the IT service providers and come down has been phenomenal for how you start, how you secure, how you involve AI, how you do those things. The challenge as a MSP owner or ITSP ownership is that sometimes you feel like you're the only one. You get that I'm the only one going through it syndrome, right? You don't get a chance to get out there. And when you go to these conferences, you have that time as we talk about that in between time to sit down and say, hey, here's what I'm going through. Guarantee you there's 30, 40, 50 people who either been there, going through it, or just coming out that can give you advice. So I say just be open to be able to receive that and be willing to have that conversation and grow those relationships. Because if you get out what you put into it. If you stand in the corner, don't talk about it, you're gonna hate the conference. Nothing's gonna come out of it. It's not gonna be
Yep.
for you. But if you engage and truly put yourself out there and say, here's where I'm at and what I need help on, guarantee you there's so much help from the vendor side as well as from the ITSP side that can provide you some guidance or know somebody that knows somebody that goes down that path that can help you through it. There's really no reason for you to walk away from that conference still in the same place that you were before and not having the help that you need to go forward.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little bit more. So, is there
Mhm.
something, a conversation or interaction with a vendor that you've had, or maybe another peer, that has literally led to a business result for your organization? Like,
Yeah,
could it be the AI strategy stuff that you guys talk about in the advisory councils, or what?
oh, for sure. I mean, when you sit down and look at it and you start talking about, hey, I want to go do X or I want to think about something else, sitting down with some of the vendors, you're able to sit down and talk about some of the strategy and you'll find out that, hey, that's some of the things that we can help you with. We can do, we can go down that path. Or here's something that's coming down the pike to fit where you are. Or you may be in a situation where we've had a certain times where you come there looking for a tool to do something else, but you haven't had a conversation with your current provider, your current vendor, or your current partner to say, hey, here's where we're going. And you end up switching because you just didn't know, right? This is the opportunity for you to have those conversations and really get into what that roadmap looks like. How can we do that? How can we get you involved in an early alpha or beta to get that input back so that you can help drive the direction of the project and the product? Those conversations are real and they happen all the time, that you don't have to go switch because we're coming down the pipe with that and it'll be out in the next quarter or in the next couple of weeks, and you can just wait and go down that path or get early access to do that. That happens more often than I can shake a stick at, and just be willing to have those conversations and go down that path for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. So this is a nice lead in to my question for Mike, which is, from a vendor perspective, I know that a lot of vendors, and again, I've been on this side too, right, of the fence, where you have to provide justification for going out to events, and there's the, what's the ROI, what's the return on investment for the spend. So outside of that, like, what are some unique aspects of ChannelCon, of why it really of how it really helps vendors? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of what Corey was teeing on earlier too. Is I don't know anywhere else where there's so much openness to give advice, right? You go to larger conferences, I don't know that the ITSPs are showing up with this idea of, oh, I'm going to give you advice. I'm going to tell you what we need, how like, it's like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to, you go to the other larger conferences. I'm here. What do you have? Okay, I'm moving on. People aren't willing to say, hey, meet us here. This is what we need. We're struggling with this. This would be meaningful. And once again, there's time for that conversation. Like, I just don't, I
Hmm.
feel like at so many other places, there's just not time for that conversation. And so that sort of willingness to have those conversations, whether it's in the hallway after a session at one of the events, and you can hear each other at the events, right? Like, that's the other thing too, is that it is possible to have conversation. Like, once again, you go to these other conferences, you go to the events, you can't really talk at them because it's too loud, or it's designed to be sort of hype cycle, or people are wanting to kind of focus on that. So to me, that's invaluable information. Where else are you going to get so many customers in a place where they're willing to share their needs and their wants? And that's really, really valuable. That's hard. That's a hard thing to quantify in price, but we've just seen the benefit of that over and over. Like I said, the conversation and the willingness to engage and provide advice.
Yeah, I'll add one too. I feel like there's also room to have those partnership discussions with other vendors. So it's
For
vendor to
sure.
vendor as well. I had a really interesting conversation with a vendor who heard what we were doing on the advisory councils and wanted to even tap into that to say like, hey, you guys were talking about this resource that you're creating. We're looking for something like this, and so I think even like from a GTIA leadership perspective, you're also getting feedback in real time about what other resources that we're helping to curate from a community led perspective, because there's the content that GTIA creates as well, right? Like the research and the courses, like introduction to the channel for vendors, and it's super helpful, right? Because then it's like, okay, you're getting feedback on your product development roadmap. You're getting feedback on, what type of partnership opportunities are out there, vendor to vendor. And then, like, hey, we're all working on these advisory councils. How can we help to serve you better? Are these things actually making an impact in your business? Or what can we do to make this more impactful for your business? So those are all good points. Okay, so let's switch it up a little bit. And Corey, you were talking about this earlier with investing in your daughter and bringing her out and having that familial type of feeling when you come to ChannelCon. When it comes to investing in the next generation, Mike, Moovila has invested a lot in their people. I know I've seen a lot of cows, which is that's the mascot for Moovila, by the way. If you didn't know that already, but you see them at the event. So tell us, like, what type of representation are you bringing? What's the value in bringing your people to the show?
Oh, bringing sales, marketing, ops people, like I said, for the people who are engaged, they love being part of the community, that have been in the community. And for the other people, it's such a great indoctrination into the community. Once again, it kind of only occurs at this conference. The other conferences, there's kind of mayhem, but I don't know that they learn, get educated, and get welcomed into the community. And so, for us, the benefit is to say, hey, this is like, if it's a brand new someone in the space, this is like Rush or whatever you want to call it. Like, you get to know the community, the people, and people are welcoming. Oh, you're new to the community. Great. Come on in. Like I said, it has that familial sense to it. And that just doesn't occur anywhere else. So when they go to a GTI event and then they go to another event, they have a familiarity with the space, the people. They see familiar faces, and I think that's just super helpful. So we love it for that sort of orientation component as well.
Yeah, that's smart. I feel like I experienced more of that at CCF this year, the passing of the baton, or hey, you don't know this person, but I want to introduce you to this person who's new to the channel and tell them a little bit about your experience. So it is really neat to kind of meet the future generation. Corey, let's get your take, right? I know we've talked about your daughter coming to the events, but why is it important to get young emerging professionals out of the office and at these types of events from an ITSP perspective?
Oh, for sure, right? If you look at the customers and who we serve is changing, right? The new millennial Gen Zs, they grew up with this technology, especially what we do from an AI perspective, right?
Mm.
They're already proficient, they know more about it than we do, and they're more comfortable with it from that perspective. So it's great to get them involved and get them engaged early so that they can understand and see and really understand how it works in the MSP community or in the ITSP community, and as well as the vendor community, that there are some synergies that we need to come through. So getting them involved early and show them what it looks like, and then show them that camaraderie, because it's very easy in technology to be the team of one, right? And I love to show them there's a team of many. It's not just on your team, but now sometimes you don't have to know everything. You just need to know somebody that knows somebody to be able to go and find the information. And there's no better place to get that than we see what GTIA offers in the different channels and different advisory councils, the community across the board, not just in the US, but almost on a global basis, right? That's really cool to have access to that.
Yeah, I will say in the age of AI, I have a lot of friends, and you guys do too, right? That have gone out there and are looking for new jobs, and it's like these days when you submit your resume and you don't know somebody within an organization, you're getting screened by AI, and you may make it or you may not. A lot of the times you
Exactly.
may not, and it really is. I feel like the longer that I'm in this channel, and the more that AI continues to change the technology and the way that we interact as human beings, right? Or in this channel too, it's like the human connection and those human relationships are even more vital, because at the end of the day, like that's what's going to get your foot in the door. That's going to having other people as sounding boards for your career, for what you're doing within your own organization. It just seems like, yeah, there's just some really star players that show up at GTIA's events.
Yeah, and it gives us an opportunity to create that storytelling, right, and do that proper handoff. Because they have
Hmm.
access to technology, it doesn't mean they understand. But to continue this relationship, to continue how it goes and evolve, you got to have us speaking back into their lives, right, and speaking back to them and saying, "Here's what it is. Understand the history of why it's like that. If not, it will change dramatically and probably for the worse versus the good." So I love the fact that we keep handing back, sharing the stories about where we came from so that they
Hmm.
can continue to preserve it and go forward from that perspective. And what we're seeing as we continue to see it is they're coming in and they're embracing it more because now it's giving them a little bit more guidance, a little bit more leadership, and they're feeling cool about it versus us throwing it down and stuffing it down their face. They're just gonna reject that and make them feel welcome. We honor their opinion. Their opinions are welcome. Everybody's doing their thing, and we trust and respect each other. That's where it really comes from.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we talked about AI. I feel like this is a great time to talk about the technology shifts and navigating that when you go to an event like ChannelCon. So, Mike, let's start with you. Are I mean, there's a ton of education there. I think there's 4 different tracks at ChannelCon this year. So how do you use the ChannelCon community to filter out the noise and find things like, we'll use AI since you're on the advisory council, actionable tactics around AI that really help your business and help the ITSP business.
Yeah, I think for us, one of the things it's a good indication of sentiment, right? So we're obviously want to understand the marketplace, what's important to the ITSPs, what their process is. So as we look at that curriculum and that process and attend those events, we're really getting a good understanding of the important sentiment of the space and what's important to the customers. Doesn't do us a whole lot of good to try to guess what they find important or what they're interested in. Watching their reaction to the educational content, their process, and their engagement around that is so unbelievably informative. So I know that's a
Hmm.
little bit meta, but we do try to like observe, hey, what did they find engaging? Where were they engaged? What did they want to do? What did they understand? That seems to be important. There was a lot more engagement around this topic than this. And you just get it wrong a lot of times. Like you can look at any kind of curriculum and go, oh, we think this is the most important thing. But then you show up and go, oh my God, like everybody was engaged around this topic. Like this was a much bigger deal than we thought it was in that space. Like I said, I just kind of keep coming back to this understand for us as a vendor, it's about you get a much better sense of understanding kind of the market sentiment and where people are, not only through the sessions, but like I said, through these conversations that you have in the hallway.
Yeah, yeah. So Corey, I guess same question to you. Like, there are a lot of conversations that are being had, and I think some of the research that GTIA puts out as well kind of helps, I guess, to maybe level set what a North Star could look like, right? Because then you have the data to kind of back up, and see what's happening, where the trends are. But what kind of advice would you give to maybe a first time attendee that's an ITSP on how to really like focus their energy at the event?
Yeah, I would say, have a plan and talk, right? And really get out there and don't hold up the wall, right? You got to get out and get engaged. And what you'll find out is that if you come there with a problem or some theory you're trying to test, I guarantee you, if you talk and engage, that you won't leave without some answer or some new direction to go into. Because again, someone is either going down that path, been down that path, or haven't even thought about the path, but you'll get a lot of advice of saying, yeah, that's a good thing to do or not a good thing to do. And going to those sessions and just sitting back and listening and engaging, you'll be able to sit back and understand the problems. Maybe a problem that you haven't faced yet, either because you're too small or just not one that's in your area, but it's coming for you, right? But now you walk away with something to go back and to adjust and be able to address that when or if it does come, right? So I think that's the biggest thing as you go down that path is really engage. I can't tell you how important that is to engage. When I go to a lot of conference, you sit in the room, everybody takes the content and they scatter. You go back next week, and unless it was really intentional, you don't connect on LinkedIn, you don't follow up, you don't do anything. I think that you have to go there to be very intentional. That if I see Mike, if I see Vicky, I want to connect and make it intentional to build a relationship, because you never know. I may have to reach out to Mike. I may have to reach out to Vicky. I may have to reach out to someone else. And guess what? They'll be willing and able to help you and be able to point you in a direction because they're engaged in the channel. So you kind of have this support system that just kind of builds itself, and it just continues to grow and gets better and better over time.
Okay, well, let me ask you a real question then. A follow up after that. What about accountability? What are you doing? What is Corey doing when he gets back home after ChannelCon?
So when I come back home, first thing I do is I believe that if you're connecting with someone, I make it, hey, if you don't connect within 24 hours, then make it intentional to follow up and to do those things. But then I sit back and I kind of process what I went to, what I kind of had, and figure out how do I bring that back to my team that was not there. So I kind of come back and do what I call a post-mortem on the conference that I just went from, right? To give my team an understanding of what it is that I just experienced and why I'm going to be making some of the decisions or bringing and implementing some of the things that we did, right? And so now they get it. So it's almost like there's a book out there called Organizing Geniuses. And what's in that book is where it talks about how Walt Disney had all these genius creators. And what he would do is react. He would act out all of his cartoons and do to really show him the team the value of what he was putting out there, to really show the passion. So it's kind of what I do. I come back and say, here's what I learned. Here's what's going on. Here's some really cool stuff. And let's think about it and talk about it as a team about how we move and incorporate this in our culture and where we go next. So I give them an opportunity to experience what I got while I was out there as well.
Okay. Do you allow them to hold you accountable too?
100%, right? Because when we go to conferences, they be like, "Yo, man, he gonna come back with 5 tools we got to implement." We hate it, right? They do. Hey, they do for sure.
That is so funny. Yeah. So Mike, what about you? I mean, what kind of report outs or what are you doing when you get back to the office after ChannelCon with your team?
So obviously there's a lot of follow-up with the people that we've talked to and the conversations we've had about what we're offering, but there's also a lot around product, right? Product roadmap. You're just coming back to what I said before, because the conversations are deeper and a little more authentic. It's an opportunity for us to understand where the market wants us to go. And that can help inform roadmap. Once again, it's just a very information rich environment for us that in many cases, like I said, the character of so many other conferences, the opportunity maybe just isn't there as much to have those kinds of conversations. So we get a lot of education. There's a lot of opportunities that we get created as well because of this. But there's also a lot of education about direction of the business and making sure, once again, that we're aligned with the marketplace and the sentiment of what the ITSPs want and want to see in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and also I was going to say the Genius Cafe, for the first timers that haven't been yet, make sure to check that out because you get the one-on-one time with different people that have been members in the GTIA community for a long time. And if you have specific things, like I think Corey, you mentioned earlier, come with a plan. So if you really want to beef up your sales or your marketing, or maybe look into ways that you can improve your operational maturity, you can find leaders like that in the space and get free advice from them. So it's a lot cheaper than buying some time with a consultant,
Amen.
So that's cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you guys are doing from an AI advisory council perspective. I mean, you're going to be showing up, you're going to be there at the event. What can we look forward to from the AI Advisory Council this year?
Yeah, I mean, we've done some really cool stuff. And, first thing we did is that we look at it, not just look at it from an AI side, right? So we look at it as AI touches the data side, it touches the cybersecurity side and things like that. So what we did, we were very intentional this year to reach across the aisles to the other advisory councils and figure out how we can collaborate because, security and data and all that, is the foundation for what we do in the AI side. So we've been working very cool from that perspective. And then we started to, ask the AI experts conversation where we were doing little shorts where the community has come together and have a list of questions that they want us to cover and what that looks like. And we're covering that, giving them their content specifically about what they've asked for. And then the last piece is we're going to be doing a workshop, I believe, at ChannelCon, where we're actually going to show you how to build an agent. And when you're done, you'll be able to walk away with that agent at the end, right? Not just talk about it, but actually be able to build it and walk through that process as well.
That's very cool. Is it agnostic? Like any type of agent you want?
So it's one that we're very specific about some type of, we had one that was very specific about some tasks, how I handle calendars, how I do certain things to give you the good base. That's something you can build on and continue to evolve over time as well.
Oh, that's neat. Okay. All right. That's an interesting little tidbit. I didn't know about that. Mike, anything that you would add to that?
Yeah, no, I think he's hit all the high points, certainly coming up for this conference. The Ask the AI Expert stuff, the videos that we're going to be doing around that. And also would just second that I think it was really great that at our last event, we went across all of the councils because AI is obviously touching everything. And I think that was one of the really insightful things that GTIA said was like, hey, we need to have more cross-pollination. And I think the members of the advisory groups, that was one of their favorite parts of the whole event at CCF was to say, look, we love this. This was a great way for us to communicate, collaborate, and deliver better content and information to the community. So, that I think that was a really great unlock for us was, hey, let's get these councils talking to each other because, they're not silos, right? These, as Corey said, they all touch each other in some way or form. And AI is certainly going to be touching almost everything. So.
Yeah, very cool. Well, besides ChannelCon North America, by the way, if you're listening to this show and you're based in Europe, you can also come to ChannelCon EMEA, which will be taking place in November. I don't have the specific dates, but I'm sure that there's somebody that can put something on the bottom for me to tell me exactly what the dates are. But if you're not able to come and join us in San Diego, make sure you come to London for this event. And I can tell you, like the feedback that GTIA has been getting, they've definitely been implementing over the last few years. The musical acts, the keynotes. The research is always great. The community is awesome. So, last lightning round question for you guys. Besides coming to the event and working the event, I know I'm coming in a little bit early because I to your point earlier about San Diego, there's so much cool stuff to do. What are you looking forward to hearing more about?
Just what's next, right? What's coming up next? And then, looking, obviously, what
There's
always
the
gets
power
me is
panel
where's
for that. There's the power panel. That'll be a good one.
Yeah. What's next? And then where's next year going to be, right? Because I can start planning for that now. I'm looking for what's the next cool site. You got to do something big to outdo San Diego. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
We obviously want to deliver kind of sort of what's next, but we also want to hear what's needed, right? So we want to come not just talking, but listening and kind of understanding and kind of positioning that. So we're all, like I said, just kind of coming back to what I was saying before, it's such a great place to learn, to meet and engage because of the authenticity of the whole event.
All right. So thank you both so much for everything that you do for the community and for GTIA. And thanks for being on the show today. It's really great to see you guys. We appreciate you both.
Thanks, Vicky. Good to see you, Corey.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good to see you as well.
And for those of you that are listening in, if you have not registered for ChannelCon yet, this is your opportunity to do so, folks. Make sure you go to channelcon.gtia.org. Sign up now. Come see us in August in San Diego or in London in November. And by the way, if you're not a member yet and you're an ITSP, you get 12 months free. You get a membership when you register. So we look forward to seeing you soon, folks. Take care.